All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into Proverbs chapter 9.
Okay.
And specifically, we're going to look at this really interesting contrast that's presented between wisdom and folly.
Right.
And what's really cool about it, it's personified, right? It's
Hmm.
presented as these two women who are sort of calling out to us,
Hmm.
inviting us. Each one has a path.
Yeah, and I think what's so fascinating about the book of Proverbs
Mhm.
is it uses these almost allegorical styles
Oh, yeah.
to really guide us towards these ideas of wise choices and wise living.
Yeah,
And it's just painted in such a vivid way, these two contrasting paths.
absolutely. And so we first encounter Lady Wisdom,
Yeah.
and she's busy. She's not just sitting around contemplating wisdom.
Hmm.
She is like building her house.
Yeah.
And it says that it's built on 7 pillars. What do you make of that imagery?
I think about it from a practical standpoint. You wouldn't build a house on one or two pillars, right?
Right.
You need that solid foundation. And Proverbs suggests that wisdom is providing these foundational elements that we need for life.
Yeah.
And then the number 7, it often represents that sense of completion or perfection.
Right.
So maybe it's hinting at these essential pillars of a wise life.
Yeah.
Maybe it's self-control or knowledge or perseverance. I don't know. What resonates with you when you think about what are those key pillars?
I think that's such a good question because it really makes you stop and think.
Yeah.
Okay, what does underpin a well-lived life, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, we're talking about building a house here. It's not just this abstract concept.
Right.
And she doesn't stop at the construction.
No.
She prepares this feast, right?
Hmm.
She sends out invitations. She even calls from the highest point of the city.
Yeah, she's not being passive about it.
Well,
It's not passive contemplation. It's like actively pursuing and sharing this wisdom.
yes. And there's that sense of urgency
Yeah, absolutely.
and generosity,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Yeah.
And she's saying, leave your simple ways and live. Walk in the way of insight.
Yes.
It's not just about acquiring knowledge. It's about applying it, right?
Yeah.
To live a fuller, a better life.
And not just once, but continuously.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of that verse in Proverbs. It says, instruct the wise, and they will be wiser still. Teach the righteous, and they will add to their learning.
Yeah, that's great.
It seems like this ongoing process of growth and refinement.
It is. And this resonates so much with me and probably with a lot of our listeners too, with that concept of lifelong learning. Wisdom is not a destination. It's that journey of continuous growth.
Yeah, love that. And then this brings us to this crucial point, right? Where the proverb connects wisdom to this idea, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Yes.
Now, the idea of fearing the Lord, I think to modern ears, that can sound kind of strange.
It can be a little bit jarring. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. The word fear there can be a little bit misleading. It's not about being terrified.
Right.
It's more about this deep reverence and respect for something that is greater than yourself.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's about humility, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing our own limitations and being open to learning. And this is such a key principle, not just in Proverbs, but you see this across various wisdom traditions, philosophical traditions, even spiritual traditions.
That's true.
True wisdom comes from that point of acknowledging we don't have all the answers.
Yeah, that we are open to guidance. And it's interesting because Proverbs links wisdom to longer life.
Right.
So it's not just good for the soul. It seems like maybe it's good for the body, too.
And I love how if we connect this with modern research, it actually aligns with the research and the studies showing these positive correlations between our mental and emotional well-being.
Wow, yeah.
And our physical health.
Yeah.
So taking care of your inner world can have these real positive effects on your outer world.
Fascinating, yeah. But then we encounter the other character in this story, right? We meet Folly.
Yeah.
And she's described as an unruly woman who is simple and knows nothing.
Right.
But she also calls out from a high point in the city, just like wisdom does.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
It's almost like they're competing for the same audience.
Interesting.
Right. But Folly's approach, her message is totally different. It's all about immediate gratification. Stolen water is sweet, she says.
Ooh, tempting.
It is tempting.
Yeah, I mean, we all have those impulses to just take the easy path.
Absolutely. But then we see the stark reality. Her guests are deep in the realm of the dead.
Yeah.
These choices that seem so tempting, so alluring, can actually lead us down this path of destruction.
Yeah, so there's this real contrast between the allure of her invitation and then the grim reality that awaits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what kind of modern-day parallels do you see to this idea? I mean, we see this all the time, these choices that seem really alluring.
Yeah, I think about the choices that we're bombarded with every single day. What we eat, how we spend our time, how we spend our money.
Yeah.
There's so many temptations that offer that promise of instant gratification.
Right.
But they come with long-term consequences. It's that challenge to choose the path of wisdom over the allure of instant gratification.
And it's interesting because we have these two figures, right, wisdom and folly, and they're offering us these very different paths.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because wisdom requires effort. It's about
Yeah.
building that house with the 7 pillars,
Yeah.
while folly is all about that easy pleasure. But it comes at a cost.
Yeah.
And this isn't just an ancient story, is it?
No.
It's something that we grapple with every day. What invitations of wisdom and folly do you see out there right now?
That's such a good question, and I think it's a question for all of us.
Yeah, I think it's a really powerful question for us all to consider.
Absolutely.
As we go through our day, which voice are we listening to?
Mm,
And where is that path leading us?
that's right.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Proverbs chapter 9. We'll see you next time.
Okay, see you then.